Hi, everybody. Welcome to the people participating in the course, whether you be in the panel itself right here, watching on the stream, which CJ stream, or watching the YouTube channel afterwards, to Master of Classes, an event powered by TF2Stadium and the North American 6v6 newbie mixes, sponsored very generously by Tragic Servers. I'm Kresnik, and I'm going to be adminning the course. This is the MvM course, where you'll learn everything about, positioning, upgrades, classes, metas, all that good stuff. Running this course, we have Asaj, CJ, and Withoeft. Please tell me if I said that wrong.
That is correct.
Oh, okay, cool. Who I believe you said you have over 1,000 tours between the three of you?
Yeah, close to,
Right.
yeah.
Well, you guys have all streamed your MVM, and everyone's seen how talented you are, and now you're ready to share the knowledge with all of us. So, without further delay, I'm going to throw it over to them, and they will talk through everything with you guys.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. So I think we'll start off with Withoeft, just talking about the differences between boot camp and man up. He's going to talk about the different kind of loot drops you can get. The differences between the fact that boot camp doesn't and man up does. And Two Cities is the most played, which is this one, Manhattan and Rottenberg. And he's just going to go over the differences between the loot on this one, which is very specific, and the loot on the other maps, things like Expert and the other advanced. Just go quickly over that, and then some simple server commands, or console commands I should say, that will make your game a little bit easier to play with. So Withoeft, do you want to take us away?
Yes. There's a difference between bootcamp and man-up, as everyone might have known. You got possibly a ticket last year from Valve, so you could join a man-up server. The ticket is actually required to join a man-up server. If you don't have it, you don't get in. There's also the voucher, which will give an additional loot drop to everyone in the party. The bootcamp servers, which are possibly community servers, don't require the ticket, and you can try different things with the people you meet on there. There's no requirement or no incentive to actually win there, where bootcamp people will generally be more serious and actually want to try to complete the maps. The loot on the Manhattan servers, you will get killstreak kits and killstreak related items, mostly fabricators or possibly Australian weapons. Those are only specific to the Two City ones, where the other maps, such as Mecha NG and the other intermediate maps and the expert ones, drop bot killer weapons. Those are available in different grades as well, such as the Carbonaro, the Diamond, Blood, Rust, Gold, and Silver, where the Mecha NG has an engineer head and the heavy has a heavy head, or vice the other way around. Then for the killstreak stuff, you will get a killstreak kit on tour completion. That's a guaranteed drop. It will be for a random weapon, which are in the loot cycle. You will also get a specialized killstreak fabricator, which requires a bunch of parts for completing missions. There is a small chance you will actually find a professional fabricator, which then needs 2 specialized weapons and more parts, or a bunch of pristine parts, which you also find as a random drop during completing missions. There's a very, very small chance you will actually find an Australian weapon, which might also be dropped on the other maps, which has been a recent addition to the MvM drop rates. And there's a very small chance you will actually find 4 boxes, which means you will get a killstreak kit, a specialized fabricator, a professional fabricator, and an Australian. Then there are some console commands we can use to make life easier. As you can see at the top of your screen, it says wave 1 out of 6, and then there's a bunch of robots spawning. The red background means that it's a giant robot. The white background means that it's a small one. In this case, you don't see the blue background, which means the robot will have crits. You can have the following console command. I will paste this in Mumble as well. It is CL_MVM wave status visible during wave. If you set it to 1, this thing between on top of your screen will stay visible during the wave, so you don't have to press tab constantly to see what is still left to kill.
Thank you.
Is there any possible? We need to actually start a server to actually start the game to see at the bottom of the screen where the bomb carrier is indicated, like the flag on CTF game modes, and with the level up indication, so you can actually see if a bot has been carrying the bomb for a very long time. The longer it carries the bomb, the more vicious it becomes. It will start regenerating health, it will have resistances to the damage you deal, and at the very last it will start getting crits. So if you try to kill it, it will try to kill you as well. There's also the money indicators. In the default HUD, it's like at the bottom left of your screen. In case of CJ stream, it's in the right side on the middle. The green one is the total amount of money you have to spend or can spend on upgrades, which you should do. And the yellow one will indicate how much money you have left or is left in the world. So if it's not zero, that means there's money lying around, and you should possibly try and collect it. That
Yeah,
money
one
will
thing
be
about...
shared.
Oh, sorry, carry on.
Yeah, the money will be shared equally amongst your team. So if there's 5 credits, everyone will get the 5 credits. So it is worth picking up the money that is like far away on the map. So everyone will get the bonus if you pick up all the money at the end of the round.
One thing about the money I was going to say is the part with the yellow background, which shows how much money is
Getting a
left
lot
in
of
the world.
cross chatter.
Sorry, yeah, we'll try to not talk over each other. The yellow portion, which has a number, it has a number inside it which is coloured black. If that number is coloured green during the course of a wave, and it says 30, for example, that means there are 30 credits left in the game. Around in the game, and you can pick them up. If the number is black, that means there is money that has been permanently lost. Means the timer has expired on that money and it's burnt up and can no longer be collected, which means you won't be getting a bonus. So if you're running around and you're thinking, oh, have I lost money yet? That's a quick indicator to just kind of glance down and see the difference.
Do we want to go over class roles, upgrade
Yeah,
stations,
sure.
or loadouts first?
Well, we'll start with class roles, I think. Just go over the different classes. So obviously, there's 9 different classes, and people always talk about the meta. I think the biggest thing that you can take away from this, and I'm sure everyone else here, like, you know, I've got 200 tours, Vhu's got nearly 500, Seal's got over 200, Asaja's got over 100. Between the 4 of us, we hold all of the world records in MvM speedrunning, all 29 maps and difficulties. So that we've played a lot and we know how to do it quickly. And I think the one thing we can all say we've learned is that as long as you're a good player and you understand the basics of MvM, then you can pretty much play any class. We've played with some really weird lineups. We've played with multiple medics, multiple huntsman snipers. Not saying those are the best ways, but as long as you can adapt your knowledge of MvM into the class that you're playing, then it can work. But we'll go over some of the meta classes. Yeah, just lacking out a little bit. So we'll go over what you need. I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're back now. There's
No,
like
you're
9
good.
classes. The most common setup is like having a scout to collect the money, a soldier to stop the giant robots. He has the upgrade rocket specialist, which will stun robots. There most likely will be an engineer to provide the ammo. From dispensers, there's the health there as well, and of course the sentry will target robots. Then the medic to heal and revive players, and you should have a pick class, possibly a demo to like put sticky traps down and kill the medics, so you can at least like complete the round. The demo can be replaced by a sniper with explosive headshots, which is a very good upgrade. The pyro can be used very good against the tanks. Then a spy can also be a pick class to pick out the medics. It does a lot of damage to giants with the backstab if you get the right upgrades. So like almost any combination of those classes will work, but some of them are more required than others.
Yeah, so you kind of need to look at the different roles. So the scout is pretty necessary for picking up money, but you can replace it with a spy if you're going to go for what we call a money spy. As the spy disguises, the robots will never shoot a disguised spy because they just assume it's a robot. So if you're feeling adventurous and you want to have a little bit more kind of offensive capabilities, you can switch out a scout for a spy. He can just use the dead ringer to stay alive a lot, disguise, pick up money. Doesn't have the movability the same as a scout, but can pick up money, can also do big things like take out urban medics. And in general, you need what I like to call just a destroyer, something that's going to kill the vast majority of robots, and that's between the demo and sniper, as Vhu've said. The explosive headshots on the sniper is really, really key, and we'll go over that when we go over the different loadouts and upgrades for the specific classes. So a demo or a sniper is pretty much necessary. Heavy is kind of your tank. He's going to soak up the damage. You can swap that out for a pyro if your pyro is quite good at positioning. You can reflect stuff. You can be the tank, the person that your medic is going to heal a lot. A medic is very, very necessary. It wasn't used in the olden days, kind of before Two Cities came out. But with the fact that you can revive people now and you've got a shield, it's very, very good in the current meta to use a medic. And of course a soldier. Now soldiers weren't used much before, but the fact that they got rocket specialists, they can stun giants, slow them down. And on some of the maps we've played, in particular Bavarian Bot Bash, you can actually just run with 4 soldiers. You don't need any other classes except for the scout. And the engineer, of course, gives you ammo. I think the only thing people really need is the ammo, and the sentry is good at clearing up. So we can start with the scout, I guess, talking about the loadouts. I'll just switch to my MvM loadout.
I'm already on scout. With the proper loadout, no cosmetics, very boring. One of the main upgrades is, or main items in your loadout should be the Mad Milk. Throwing this on groups of robots and having your teammates shoot them will give them a bunch of health in return. There's also the slow on milk upgrade on this. So when there's a bunch of giant scouts, which will try to cap the bomb by running from the spawn point to your last and destroy it. If you throw the slowdown on them, it will be a lot easier to focus them down and do a lot of damage to them. Then there's the Fan of War. You can mark robots one at a time, so your teammates do mini crits against them. Your primary doesn't really matter, but there's a lot of versatility between them. So the Soda Popper allows you to jump a lot and dodge the robots. The Backscatter allows you to do mini crits against the bots. So there's a lot of different weapons you can try and use as a primary. Shortstop will give you a bunch of additional health if you go for the money. And having the increased money pickup radius on scouts will help a lot with getting to 600-700 HP and staying alive. Recommend are a bunch of resistances to go with it, so you actually are able to pick up the money. And dealing damage in the later waves when you got all your resistances and the milk upgrades, so you can help your team out and kill robots.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing of the scout is the 3 M's. I said this in a video before in the past, and I like to repeat it, is money, milk and mark. Your money is the most important thing. It's picking up the money for your teammates, making sure they have the money to do the upgrades. The milk, obviously, you throw milk on the giant robots or groups of robots. Everyone who shoots them is going to get health back, and obviously with the increased damage that you do, you're going to get lots and lots of health back, and this is really helpful against the giants. And of course, marking things with the Fan of War. You hit that giant, it's going to take mini crits from every source, which is really, really helpful. Just to go over the upgrades, as Vihu says, I know you guys can't see it in the mumble, but if you have any questions, just give a shout out and we can go over anything if we've missed it. So at the start of the game, if we look at this current mission, you look at the start and there's 44 scouts and 24 soldiers, all small, with 1 giant soldier. Now basically, there's no pyros, you don't need fire resistance, and there's no crits, so you don't really need crit resistance just yet. So resistances are key because you want to stay alive in order to get that money, and it means you can tank damage. If you've got 700 HP and you're resistant to stuff, you're not going to die for a long time. So you'd want to spread your money out between blast and bullet resistance. Because if you take a rocket to the face, that's 100 damage. You have some blast resistance, it's going to take 25% less. Bullet resistance as well. A lot of people underestimate the scouts, but when there's a large horde of them coming towards you and they all fire their scattergun at the same time, you're going to take a lot of damage. So definitely look into bullet resistance as well for the start of this wave. And then, as the game goes on, just look into the different resistances. It seems I keep lagging out, I'm not sure why. Must be my internet. But yeah, resistances are pretty much key for a scout. You just need your resistances. Update bullet and blast accordingly. Crit resistance as well. Fire resistance is something that I personally avoid. I don't know about the rest of the guys here, whether they ever get fire resistance as scouts. But
it is really wave specific. You should look at the top what is in the wave. If there's a bunch of pyros, then it's helpful to get a fire resistance. If you keep dying to them, just buy it. You can always refund if you don't need it anymore.
Yeah, exactly. And we're now with the update, which means you can refund every wave. It really does open a lot of opportunities to be wave specific on your upgrades. But in general, something like movement speed and jump height are also very key. Vihu touched on the fact that you got the soda popper here. If you can watch me, and I just right click and I can jump really high and like float around, which means you can get access to areas you can't normally get with just the standard double jump. But also, if you've got movement speed and jump height from the upgrade station, it means you get closer to the money quicker, and it means you can get to higher places using that jump height, which is very, very important. And obviously the milk. Now on this round, I'd look at this and think, okay, I'm pretty confident that my team can kill those robots without needing that extra bit of milk. There's no giant scouts to worry about, so I might miss out milk on this one just to boost up my resistances for start. Like, that's what it is. It's all about understanding kind of the way that the game's going to go and what upgrades you're going to need for each wave. But definitely, probably by the second wave, I'm going to get my speed on target on my milk, and recharge rate, just upgrade it accordingly. There's a couple of waves on different maps that have got kind of 10, 12 Super Scouts. You're going to need a lot of upgrade speed on that so that your milk is constantly regenerating. And once you've got that, it pretty much is up to you what you want to do. Once you've got resistances and you've got movement and jump height and your milk's maxed out, then it all really depends. You can throw some stuff into your primary, but you're not going to be using that much unless there's just a giant left to kill in the game.
Then there's the soldier, which is there to stun the robots with the rocket specialist upgrades. One of the most important upgrades in the game, in my opinion. It makes sure that your rockets don't have damage fall off, which is a mechanic frequent in the pub community. You can make sure it doesn't have any damage fall off, and it increases splash radius a little, so your rockets become more effective. With that, you can stun giant scouts so they don't get past as fast, and it's easier for the rest of your team to focus them. And it helps with building a banner. The buff banner will help your team with mini crits. The conjurer will help give health back to your team when they damage robots, and the battalions make sure your entire team can act as a tank and soak up more damage than they usually can. The melee, it doesn't really matter for the soldier. It's always fun to whip your teammates to the front lines or help out an NG to pick up his building from behind enemy lines and need to get forward. So there's a lot of versatility there. Don't go buy upgrades on the rocket jumper because you can't deal damage with it. But as CJ mentioned earlier, on the Bavarian Bloodbath wave, where you can have 4 soldiers, it is possible to get away with upgrades on your Righteous Bison and destroy tanks with it.
Yeah, I mean, personally, the primary, soldier is really such a versatile class when it comes to your primary. There's different things. I like to use the default rocket launcher sometimes. I like to use the black box at other times because that gives you health back a little bit as well. The Beggar's Bazooka is very, very strong. I mean, Seal we've got here who's very good with the Beggar's Bazooka. Did you want to talk about like how you play with the Beggar's Bazooka at all? Like what you would upgrade for that?
Nice dolphin noises.
Seal's microphone is dead at the moment, so we'll come back to that later, I guess. But yeah, for the upgrades for Soldier.
Hello?
Oh, hello. Yes, do you want to talk to us about Beggar's Bazooka and why you prefer it to everything else?
Well, it has this reload. It has a faster reload speed than the stock rocket launcher, which it doesn't say in the descriptions, but it is. And I know like a lot of people who used to Beggar's Bazooka likes to get clip size, to load up like up to 11 rockets and launch everyone at once. But I just prefer, if you get full firing speed and full reload speed with full damage, you can do so much damage by shooting time.
Having the additional clip size with the crit canteen will actually become a tank destroyer. It's just like different builds you can try out with the amount of money you have for upgrades.
Yeah.
When it comes to upgrades, generally you're going to want Rocket Specialist, whatever you're using. One thing that people mistake is putting lots and lots into Rocket Specialist. If we look at it, it says plus 15% rocket speed, and on direct hits it does more damage. But the most important thing is the stun target. Once you've got 1 point in that, you've automatically got the stun target. That's all you need, and 1 rocket is going to be enough to stun whatever target it is. So that's really, really important for Soldier. If you can hit those Super Scouts, you can hit those Giants, it slows them down. If they're slowed down, it means they're not going to get the bomb to the point, they're not going to capture the points, and it allows the rest of your team to focus them much easier. It's much easier to shoot a Scout that's frozen in place for a couple of seconds than it is one that's constantly running. Reload speed is, again, really, really important no matter what you're using. It gets your rockets in a lot quicker. So for me, I would start off on a map like this. We've got 1300 credits. I would start off with 1 in Rocket Specialist, 1 in Reload Speed, 1 in Health on Kill, and 1 in Damage, and that will leave me 150 left for the next wave to play with. Simply because ammo capacity you don't really need at the start, because you've got dispensers, you've got ammo packs. Firing speed you can upgrade later. It's important, but you don't need it for the first wave. But reload speed is very, very important, and health on kill. You're not going to be getting much heals from your medic. You're more of a flank class. You're going to be helping out your engineer on different positions, and damage also helps you as well with your banners. Whichever banner you decide to use, if you get more damage, it's going to build much, much faster. Buff banner is always preferred if you're just playing with one soldier, but if you've got multiple soldiers, like Veet said, you can go with Contra as well, battalions, and it really just helps mix things up. We talked about Bavarian bot match earlier with the quad soldier loadout. You're going to have 3 different banners, and that really, really does help. As the game progresses, you're not going to be upgrading anything else on soldier. You know, resistances as a general class you can upgrade as you go along, but everything else is just going to be on your rocket launcher. Get that damage up to max, get that reload and firing speed up to max, get a couple in health on kill, maybe a 1 in clip size, and then you're really just, you know, destroying things. And as Seal says, if you use that Beggar's Bazooka, it's really, really strong as well. We're going to go on to... I'm going to skip Pyro, and we're going to come back to Pyro later. Seal has good ideas on upgrades for Pyro, so we'll come back to that later as it's a bit of a niche class, and we'll come on to Demo. Now Demo is, as we said earlier, a really, really necessary class because it's going to be killing most of the robots. You're going to be using your stickies or your pipes. Now a lot of people say, oh, pipe only, pipe only. For me, it doesn't matter what you want to do. Whichever way you'll prefer playing and how you take out medics, that's up to you. Whether it's pipes or stickies, but stick to one of those weapons and only upgrade one. Don't spread your money out across the 2 weapons. There is no point in doing that because it means you're going to have 2 marginally upgraded weapons rather than 1 super weapon. For me, stickies are better. You can lay down the traps, you can wait for the robots to run onto them, det them, and anything that's in there is going to die once you've upgraded that damage. Pipes you have to aim, and they don't stay on the ground. You know, you can't preempt the robots or anything like that. Now if you want to, you can change your loadout and not have grenades. You can change it and you can put on something like the bootlegger or the booties, and that will give you 25 extra HP, which puts you up to 200 on a demo man, which is pretty tanky once you're buffed from a medic. You can also use the Islander. This is something that people in our group has done quite a lot. Now the Islander means you take away 25 HP, but it does mean every time you get a head, you get extra health. So you get extra health and speed, and once you've taken 3 heads, you're above the normal from a demo man anyway, and once you've got 4, which is the max, you're much faster and you've got a lot more HP, which makes you stronger. But in general, your upgrades are going to be putting on the sticky launcher. That's the thing that you can take things down with. Again, reload speed, just like soldier, is going to be very, very important. You want to get stickies into your launcher as quickly as you can. Damage is also important, but for me on this map, starting off, I would put 1 in firing speed, 1 in health on kill, and the rest on reload speed. And just like soldier, it leaves me with 150 left. Now the max reload speed means I'm going to get those stickies in really, really quickly. Firing speed, you want to get those stickies out as well. And health on kill means in those situations, if you kill a lot of robots, you're going to get a huge buff if each one of those kills is going to give you 25 HP. As you go along, upgrade damage as well. Clip size can be helpful if you start using crits and you want to get the crits out really quickly, but damage is, you know, the key one that you want to fill up, and at 500 is quite expensive. But once you've done that, you as a demo man should be killing a majority of the robots, and you are the main kind of death thing in your team, unless you're running a sniper, which is interchangeable. Again, we'll come on to that later. If you want to get that extra HP, use your sticky bomb launcher, jump up to the places where the snipers are, kill the odd sniper and you're going to get HP. Generally the snipers spawn... Oh, I died. They spawn on the balcony area on this map, and they spawn up on the cliff on Rottenberg. Learn where the spawns are and get those heads with the Islander, and you're going to get extra HP. You're going to become really, really strong, really, really fast, and use that sticky launcher to great effect. Is there anything you guys got to add on Demo Man that I might have missed?
Well, I think it's like, yeah, it's down to preference, whether you like stickies or pipes. Although I like the Scottish resistance when you do the advanced missions. Just because you can kill a giant robot with 1 detonation. But that's just me.
Yeah, the thing about the Scottish resistance is that the Scottish resistance has like 14 stickies instead of 8, and when you lay down a trap, you can like choose where you lay down a trap. Usually you do it up front because that's like where majority of the robots spawn, and the giants as well. But you can also like have maybe 8 stickies up front, and for example, have 6 stickies on top, depending on the wave composition, of course. And you can det those individually, like, you don't det them all at once. That's like a function of the Scottish resistance, and yeah, as Seal already mentioned, it does a bit more damage, which saves you some time and might get you out of a sticky situation.
Was that pun intended there?
I don't really know.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, I don't like using the Scottish resistance personally, but these guys use it and they're really, really strong with it, and you can get insane amounts of damage. It's just quite good. You, like Asaj said, you can have a sticky trap, you know, down at the front, and you can watch that, and when the robots come, you can det it, and then when some robots come on the left side, you can det the trap there, and it just really, really helps having multiple traps across the map. Onto Heavy. Now Heavy kind of is like the tank of the team. He's going to be getting a lot of HP from your medic. He's going to be doing a lot of damage to the giants. One thing mistake I see from new players is that as a Heavy they try to focus the small robots. Now if you've got a demo man on your team and he's got sticky traps, it can blow up, you know, hordes of robots in just one detonation. But with the Heavy you're going to be focusing the giants, the big guys that come down. Because it's easy to track them. They walk slowly. You just need to keep your mouse on top of them, follow them as they go along, and they take so much damage. And you know, it's literally just a mouse one class at that point. Demo man and soldier and everything else has to actually aim. You just have to keep tracking your mouse across the top of them. Now miniguns. Personally, I use the default minigun, but I'm not sure with the changes what you guys would say whether Tomislav or Natasha might be better.
It really depends, like, on wave composition again. Me, I personally like to use the Tomislav a bit more than the minigun, just because of the recent accuracy buff, where you can like railgun robots much easier. But the Natasha's also, and the Brass Beast, good miniguns to like start with when you don't have that many resistances. It just gives you like a I think 20% damage reduction when you're spun up, and that can really help sometimes when there are a lot of like crit robots or giant robots, and as a Heavy you usually are situated right next to the dispenser, and yeah, soak up a lot of damage basically.
Yeah, I mean with the Brass Beast you'll essentially become a second sentry. You're not very mobile when you're spun up, but you do a lot more damage, and as such as you do have that 20% damage resistance, which is going to keep you alive a little bit better as well. So yeah, I mean that's quite helpful, and it's something a lot of people like to use because you do so much damage to the giants. I like the minigun because it makes me a little bit more mobile and it doesn't really sacrifice the damage, but the Tomislav is good as well. With that buff to accuracy from a long distance, you can do a lot more damage. For the other weapons, you know, Sandwich, you can chuck that down to your medic if he's ever in a sticky situation. And the Fists of Steel I like, simply because if you want to get away from danger, then you just switch to your Fists of Steel, run away, and you're going to take less damage from that. But for upgrades, this is a kind of a contested thing between many people. A lot of people disagree on certain things. For this wave, personally, I would look and I'd say, oh hey, there's a giant soldier and there's 24 small soldiers. I'm going to get some destroy projectiles, and they cost 400 each. And the more you have in it, so there's 2 if you have 1 or 2, it destroys more. There's more chance of it being destroyed. So I would definitely have at least 1 in there for this wave and max it out at some point. But also firing speed is good. Firing speed is essentially the damage upgrade for Heavy. It means you're going to be doing more damage because you're firing bullets at a much faster rate. Projectile penetration is something I would invest in later on. It's quite expensive at 400 credits, but it does mean that when there's lots and lots of robots coming in a group, the bullets go through either 1, 2 or 3 depending on how much you've upgraded into it, and it means that the robots behind are taking damage as well, and it just means you can do more damage as a whole. Health on kill is quite helpful at times. It gives you that buff if your medic or your dispenser aren't close by. And ammo capacity is quite helpful, especially on the maps where there's a tank. If your team gets pushed back because the tank's taking a long time to go down and you may not be at the front with the dispenser, ammo capacity is quite helpful. But generally, as a Heavy, you shouldn't be shooting the tank, because the Heavy does, I believe it's 25% of the damage of a normal class. So if someone does 100 damage, you're only going to do 25 to it, you know, the equivalent. So shooting the tank isn't helpful, at points. You know, things like pyros and soldiers are going to do a lot more damage, but it is a common misconception that the heavy just shouldn't shoot the tank at all. It's not as if it does negative damage. It's still going to do damage and it's still going to help your team. So you can still shoot that tank even if it's not going to do as much damage. But it shouldn't be a case of, oh, leave the heavy on the tank, everyone else destroy the robots, because it's going to take a long time for the heavy to do it. Knockback rage is pretty helpful as well. It basically means once you've upgraded at least one into it, you're going to get a rage bar, and that rage bar at the bottom means that the more damage you do, the more rage builds. Once you get to maximum, you can use your taunt key, and anything that you're shooting at will get pushed back. This is quite helpful on maps like this, where there is the grinder. And other maps have pits and whatnot, which you can push into there, and the robots immediately die. So if there's a giant walking down here, I can just turn, shoot him, force him into that grinder, and he will die. If you land on that banana, you're going to die and fall into the grinder immediately, and that goes for robots as well. Goes for even the boss ones that have a lot of HP. You get them into that grinder, they're going to die. So rage can be pretty helpful. Going on to engineer now. Asajj is already on engineer, so I'm assuming that he's got a lot to talk about engineer. So do you want to talk us through what you have to do as engineer, Asajj?
Okay, sure. Well, engineer is a really important class too. Starting off with the upgrades. Basically, what I like to do is, before anything, get at least like one building health, because it gives you like double the building health that you usually have. And when you have to wrangler it, I think it triples as well, so you have much health on your sentry, so it doesn't die as often. Get like 2 dispenser range, because that makes it so that classes like heavy don't have to like stand right next to your dispenser, and your dispenser doesn't take as much damage. Normally I'd have 700 credits left, so I would probably get like at least 1 metal capacity, meaning that I now have 300 metal. With that 500 left, like you're gonna have 100 left in this wave, so I usually get 1 on my wrench, which is a jack. But it's like up to personal preference. You can also use the stock wrench, you can use the Southern Hospitality, you can... Also, in some rare situations, you would use the Eureka effect. But one thing you probably wouldn't use, at least in the beginning of the game, is the Gunslinger, because the sentry really doesn't do that much damage, mini sentry that is, and dies a lot. And if you have to keep rebuilding it, you're gonna eat through your metal really fast. And basically what the NG is doing is he's providing his buildings to his teammates. And what I do first usually is like build a teleporter, and the teleporter exits has to be like somewhere where the robots don't usually go, so in case one of your teammates dies, they can safely teleport back in without like getting shot immediately. The dispenser, you usually have your dispenser where most of your people are gonna do damage from, which is usually up front, so I have the dispenser right next to this barrel, because it also gives a nice cover from splash and hit scan. And have the sentry on this box, because that's usually the best spot on this map. But just as a rule of thumb, have your sentry like a bit behind of your teammates, because you don't want your sentry up front like taking all the damage and dying immediately, and then you'd have to spend like at least 10 seconds or so to rebuild it, also chewing up through your metal count. Also don't get two-way teleporters. Those, I mean, they might seem useful to some people, but like usually when we play, we never have like the situation where you have to teleport to spawn like really urgently, and we also don't really have to buy back, so those 250 credits that you have to spend can be like spent on, for example, swing speed, or even like on your rescue ranger, which is also like the main weapon that you'd probably use along with the level 3 sentries, because there are some times where you can't really like get to your sentry immediately, and you can repair your sentry from a distance, and you can also, for 100 metal, just teleport it out of dangerous situation. And for the secondary, you just have the Wrangler. But there's like no question about it. What you don't want to do is like have use the Wrangler too excessively, because I don't know, like there was an update like ages ago which nerfed the Wrangler severely, where it doesn't like really lock onto targets from a far distance anymore. And usually you have your classes up front anyway, and the sentry is basically responsible for taking out the small bots that your teammates didn't kill. And depending on wave composition, you have your teammates up front and you have your sentry watching the flank, so people don't have to worry about that, like robots getting behind you. But apart from that, I don't really have much to add. It's just usually use the Rescue Ranger, use whatever range you like except Gunslinger and the Wrangler, that's about it. And resistances are... You can use resistances, but usually because you are way behind your teammates and you have usually have a medic with projectile shield which blocks projectiles, you don't necessarily need the resistances. But if you have the money for it and you think that your sentry is upgraded enough, you can spend those on resistances too.
Yeah, one of the resistances I like to get is the is crit resistance, because it means you take less damage from mini crits as well as regular crits. And when you're running the Rescue Ranger, if you're picking up your buildings, you're marked for death, which means you take mini crits, so it does actually help take less damage if you're trying to escape with your sentry. That sentry gun position there is my favourite on this map. It's quite aggressive and it really does help your team. But if you find your sentry, you can't keep it alive, this position up here is quite good. It means you're going to be watching this left hand side as well. Your soldier should be up here as well, and you could be watching this left hand side, and it also shoots robots that come down here. And one thing Asaj pointed out about the dispenser range, if you see here, if I stand here, I actually receive health from the dispenser. That doesn't happen normally, it's only when you've got increased dispenser range. So that means a dispenser placed in this spot as opposed to over there, which is a very common spot you see in pubs. This means that people around this area, your heavy, your demo, they're going to get health and ammo from this, as well as your soldier and your NG who are going to be up here. So it's kind of like a two-way dispenser. It really does help. But yeah, in general, you can do what Asaj is doing and just sit back and relax and let your sentry do the work. But make sure it is kept healthy with the Rescue Ranger. It doesn't fill up ammo. That's one thing that some people think it does. It doesn't. It means you have to get up there with your wrench and whack it to help the ammo. If there's a giant, or if there's Uber medics, an important thing is to get your Wrangler out and just not shoot. If you shoot an Uber medic, then it's going to force the Uber, and it means your demo or your sniper can't take it down. So just use the Wrangler, wait till the Uber medics are dead, and then use your Wrangler and focus that heavy or that giant, whatever it is that the medic was healing, and you can take him down. One little neat trick, which even I learned recently, and which was really important for us in speedruns, if I'm wrangling, as Asaj said, it's really hard to refill. It takes ages to refill it, and it takes a while for it to go back to normal. Now instead, if I do this, and I just drain my my ammo a little bit, and this is under the effects of the Wrangler, switch to my wrench, pick it up, and place it down again, it automatically goes back to its normal state, and I can refill it really, really quickly. And that's a little trick that just makes it get out of its wrangled shield state a little bit quicker, enables you to refill it quicker, and it's just a little bit of a speed trick, I guess, and it helps you in some difficult situations. The last class, I guess, for the meta classes would be the medic. The medic it wasn't really used much, but these days it is used a lot. Simply because of the shield, which is the first thing you should be upgrading. The first level of shield gives you the shield. It's activated by default, like mouse 3, so probably your middle mouse button on most mouse. And if you get it up to 2, your shield gets larger. That shield is built by healing people. So if I heal someone, this bar in the middle is going to be increasing. That gives me my shield. So basically, work out how much shield you're going to get, how much you have, and what situation it is best to use it in. I mean, if there's only one robot but you can see a giant in the distance, wait till that giant's come down and then heal, and it heals your shield builds faster the weaker the person is. So this person I'm lagging again. So we got Seal here at spawn and I'm healing him.
I'll try to take over the field, ready to go when there's a lot of robots trying to shoot. my mumble die? Or?
No.
No, I just think that might be the mumble is very laggy. I'm not sure. Yeah, so what I was trying to say before I lagged out was when you're healing someone, your shield will build. If someone could come to spawn just so I can showcase it a little bit. Here's the demo. So if I heal up Asajj here, you can see the bottom energy just fills up. Now, once he gets to full HP, this doesn't really showcase it that well because it is in before the game started. But once he's at his max buff level here, that means that this shield will not build anymore. So I need to go and find someone else on my team. Here's Seal, and then I can buff him, and that means the shield will start building again. Now he's max HP, the shield won't build anymore. Now it doesn't really matter because the shield is kind of full anyway. There used to be a bug where you couldn't switch between them. Now you can, which is really good. Now Uber is kind of the default minigun, but it's not the one that you should use. MvM is all about damage, and it's all about trying to kill the robots as quickly as possible, which is why you should be running Kritzkrieg. Now Kritzkrieg, obviously you build it, and once you use it, you can crit your teammates, and they can do a lot more damage. So get that projectile shield maxed out, get the Uber charge rate. That's quite helpful. It means you're going to be building much faster during the game, and you're going to be able to get more crits out. Uber duration is pretty good. I don't like to do it too much because sometimes it just means that it's going to take longer for you to get your next crits when there may be an important moment. Healing mastery is really, 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 really good. It means you get more heals out onto your teammates. It means you revive them better, and you get self-heal increased as well. So healing mastery is really helpful because one of the key points of playing as a medic is to revive your teammates. If your teammates die, there becomes a little bit of a little revive thing underneath them. Now if you heal that thing and it get it up to the maximum points on it, then it will revive your teammate and they can get back into the action rather than having to wait for the respawn. It's really, really important to do that quickly. And there's a lot of stuff going on. Your demo man might need crits, your heavy might need heals, but if you can revive someone and try to handle everything and juggle everything, it's really, really good for your team. Overheal Esper is really good as well. Once you've got it at max, it means you can increase people's buff by a lot. That means you can have things like a 750 HP heavy, which is an absolute monster to take down. And it also gives increased overheals to everyone else on your team. So it's really, really helpful as well. And it's all about how you feel best playing as medic. Projectile shield is most important, you should get that. And for me, healing mastery is the next most important at the start of the game. And after that, you can start doing overheal expert, some uber charge rate, and then finally uber duration for myself. Canteen specialist is good as well. We haven't covered canteens just yet. But once you've got canteen specialist, it makes the canteens cheaper. Takes 10 credits off the price of each canteen each time you upgrade this. And once you've got that, even just one in it, it means you share your canteen. So if I use crits and I'm healing my demo, that means my demo also gets crits, which is really, really helpful. It means you don't need always your charge. Use the Uber Saw. You don't need to upgrade it, but if you get a swing on a robot or just a giant, it means you're going to get 25% Uber. Now, if you get 4 hits onto a giant, that means you've got another crits, which is really, really helpful against the giants. I mean, you see a giant coming, don't be scared, run in there, try to get some hits on the giant, get up to 100%, switch back to your medigun, heal your demo, heal your heavy, use that crits, and you can recycle it, especially for the bosses, things like Sir Nukes a lot, things like the giant heavies on the last wave of Manhattan. Just get in there and use your Ubers on that. And that obviously means that you're going to need some resistances. Resistances as medic are quite important. I would say it's the second most important class after Scout to have resistances, simply because you're the only class that cannot be revived, because you're the one who does the reviving. If you die, that means you can't be revived. You have to wait for the respawn time, and your teammates will not be able to be revived either if they die. So make sure you can get a little bit of resistances in there so that you are more likely to survive and be able to revive your teammates. Now those are the niche. Those are the default meta classes: Scout, Soldier, Demo, Heavy, Medic, NG. The other three, Pyro, Sniper, and Spy, are kind of niche, and they're a little bit different. But I wouldn't say you shouldn't use them. I'm going to leave it to Seal because he's probably the best Pyro and Sniper that we play with, and he probably knows a lot more about the classes than anyone else. So he can kind of tell us how he would upgrade them and how he'd play as them.
Well, let's start with Pyro. Like, what I think is the most important is to stay alive. Like that goes for every single class. That's not scout and medic. The longer you can stay alive, the more damage you will deal. Like, sure, more damage sounds great, but if you can't stay alive, you probably should get the health on kill. Because if you're dead, you can't do any damage. So if you go Pyro on this wave, you have 1300 credits. You would want bullet resistance, because this guy's gonna shoot you. And as a Pyro, you need to get close to the robots. You can't, like, as a soldier, hang back and shoot rockets across the map, but you need to, like, really dig in. And that's why you need resistance, health regen, and health on kill. And that's the most important. And you won't be needing your secondary as a Pyro. You don't want to use shotgun or flare gun. You don't want to use the degreaser like you do in competitive or in pubs, where it's useful. You want to use the stock flamethrower, the backburner, or maybe the phlogistonator. For this map with the giant soldier and the 24 small soldiers, you would go, ideally with the stock flamethrower, since the backburner will take more ammo for reflecting rockets. I don't know, anything more to that? As a Pyro, you need to stay alive, because you're gonna take a lot of damage and you're gonna steal a lot of heals. So as long as you manage to stay alive, it's cool. Like, it depends on how much resistance you need and health on kill you need.
Yeah, I mean, because it's quite squishy, isn't it? So you die quite a lot, and you don't want to be constantly having to be revived by a medic. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much everything. I like to use the power jack because it means you can get to places a little bit quicker. 1 second.
Yeah, just make sure that you don't whip out the power jack when there's a lot of hit scan classes around, because you'll take more damage and it will eat through your HP like really fast if there are, for example, like 20 heavies up front, and because the Pyro is the class that has to be up front for it to do damage, try not to whip it out when there are so many people around that can damage you with bullets.
Yeah, sorry, I'm back now. And yeah, it's talking about like the burn damages as well. That's something you shouldn't really go for. They cost 250 each, and you don't really want to be leaving stuff to die to burn damage. You want to be doing the damage, so things like damage are really helpful. And the air blast force, it costs 100 each. If you get that up to max, that means you're going to be able to push the giants, and if your team is under a little bit of pressure, and you need to push the giants or even push them into a grinder or a pit, then you're going to need that air blast force. And to be fair, at 400 just to max out, it's pretty cheap. But yeah, as Seal says, it's all about staying alive. It's all about not putting yourself into positions where you're going to die. If I just walk up to the front here as Pyro, using my power jack because it makes me go faster, whereas a heavy or a demo is going to be holding really far forward, like this, a Pyro is going to replace a heavy or a soldier. You still need your demo or your sniper to kill the large groups of robots, and you still need your scout to pick up money and NG, etc, etc. But Pyro can be useful, but I can't stand here. If I stand here as a Pyro, anything is going to just shoot me, because I can't hit anything down on the floor. If I stand here, I'm going to die straight away anyway. I'm going to do the damage, but I don't quite have the resistances yet. So you need to stand in the correct positions, play it a bit passive, play the heals, and once you've got the resistances and you've got your damage up, then you can start getting stuck in. You can start hiding behind them with the backburner, doing damage to robots. With the backburner, you do crits from behind, and that's really, really helpful on giants. If you're heavy and your demo stood where Seal is, then the Pyro can just be here, using the back burner behind it, just doing automatic crits. It just does so much damage to it. Also, then we've got Sniper. Now, earlier on we said Sniper can replace Demo as something that kills the most of the classes. I'm okay at Sniper, I guess, and MvM, but Seal's much better. Do you want to talk about explosive headshots and all the different upgrades? And the loadouts,
Sure.
of course.
Yeah, loaded. Well, the primary rifle you want to use is the Hitman's Heatmaker. What I found out in my experience, simply because you can gain a focus. Which when you activate the focus, you don't have to scope out, and you can just keep on headshotting in the scope, which is kind of amazing. You can do a lot of damage on, example, giant heavies and demos and soldiers. You know, a secondary, you don't want to use the Razorback. A lot of people also always have the Razorback because they maybe played a TF2 Center lobby or on a public server, and they come in with a Razorback and they don't really think about swapping weapons. But the Yarata is really useful. Then you can throw it on giant robots, for example, to get the mini crits and help your teammates. Depending on the wave, if there's not a lot of giant stuff, you can use the Darwin stage just to get the bullet resistance and extra health if you have trouble staying alive, but the Eurot is the best. Coming to upgrades, you want at least one explosive headshot. Explosive headshot does that if you headshot a robot, will be explosive like the upgrade itself, and you'll be able to hit multiple targets with one shot. So when, if for example, a giant soldier drops down with 3 medics, if you headshot the giant soldier, the 3 medics, if they're close enough to the medic, they will also die to that one bullet, which is great. You want the explosive headshot, then you want the reload speed. When you have full focus on your Hitman's Hitmaker with full reload speed, you can use non-stop shooting, full scoped headshots for the damage on giants. You don't need charge rate, that's a waste. I don't know, as long as you have explosive headshots and reload speed, you're pretty good. Damage, of course, is nice.
Yeah, damage does more like initial damage to the thing you're shooting. So like Seal says, if you shoot a heavy or a soldier with multiple Ubermedics, then it's going to take them down because they're going to be included in the blast radius, and it's really, really helpful. And I think if you have a good sniper, it's better than a good demo because you can just clear wave after wave and you don't even have to be close to them. Health on kill, I suppose you don't really need it. You're not going to be taking much damage because you're going to be far away. Ammo capacity, I mean, if you're burning through the rounds, just constantly headshotting stuff and not dying, then maybe 1 in ammo capacity if you've got the spare change. But yeah, reload speed, explosive headshots and damage, that's really what you want. And you just become a one-man killing machine. It is so effective in just taking everything down. And there's some videos that you can look up. Once you stay focused in and you get more kills, you get more you get more focus, and it becomes like a never-ending cycle of you just staying scoped in and constantly shooting and killing stuff. And the last class is the Spy. Now the Spy is probably, without a doubt, the weakest class in MvM. It doesn't really have a role that you can fill perfectly, whereas a sniper, if you have a good sniper, he can automatically just jump in as a replacement for a demo man, but a Spy can't really do the same for any of those classes. I touched on it earlier talking about the money Spy. This loadout for a Spy is pretty much the same. I always go with L'Étranger, the default knife, and the Dead Ringer. Now the L'Étranger means I'm going to stay cloaked longer when I do have a triggered Dead Ringer, and the default knife, it doesn't really matter what you use. And as a Spy, if you stay disguised, then the robots will never shoot you. I'm disguised as whatever. It says CJ at the moment, but if a robot is in play, then it will save the robot. And if I stay disguised, the robots won't shoot me unless I get caught in a crossfire between me and a teammate. I can pick money up around here. The only problem is if stuff gets killed up there, you're going to need your teammates to do it because you cannot get up there quickly. A scout can double jump up to there and he can be up there in less than 2 seconds. A Spy needs to go all the way through here, jump up there and walk all the way, and then in that time there may be some stuff that's been killed down here, so you really do need assistance from your teammates. But the bonus of having this is that you're going to get those picks. Say your demo dies in a bad situation, you can sap, and if you sap a robot, stuff in its radius, just like the explosive headshots, in that radius becomes sapped, and if it's a small robot, it totally nullifies them. It makes them stunned, and they can't move, they don't do anything. And that means you can stun a giant robot and backstab its medics, and then you've taken down that threat. Also, if you stun a giant robot, it makes it slower, so it has the same effect as slow on target on the milk, and you can slow down a giant scout, which is really, really helpful as well. You can also have a Spy replacing a demo. Now this is very, very risky, and it only really works if you've got a team working together, which we've done a few times. And basically the spy's sole job is to clear out those uber medics. Just like I said, sap the giant, switch to your knife, backstab the medics that are kind of stuck, and that will just one-shot them down. Also, if I just change class and show you the upgrades. Upgrades, generally you're going to want to upgrade your robot sapper. Basically it increases the sapper duration and radius. It means a wider radius of robots are going to be sapped, and the duration is going to be extended. For the for resistances and stuff, you can do that. Movement speed, help you get around the map a bit quicker, but on your knife, that's what you want to focus on. Armor penetration and attack speed. Now once you've got these maxed out, your knife goes very, very quickly. And if you have armor penetration, it means you do more damage to the giants. Now once you've got attack speed and armor penetration maxed out, then you can take down the giant quick fix medics in about 4 or 5 stabs. Now giant quick fix medics are the bane of many people's lives, simply because people find it really hard to kill them quickly or before they use their quick fix. But if you've got a spy, it takes them down practically immediately. They'll drop down, you can backstab them 4 or 5 times, they die straight away, then you can get working on the giant boss that it's healing. But really, other than that, there is not much that the spy can be used for. So if you want something a little bit more dangerous and a little bit more risky, the spy can jump in instead of a scout or a demo. But you really do need to have your team play around it and assist you where there's the obvious weaknesses, because some of the classes, they don't have those full failings that the spy does. But those are all the different classes, and we've talked about kind of positioning really as well with all the different classes. So I'm just going to touch on the equip a canteen and just talk about the canteen quickly. We've got the different canteens here. For engineer, you do have the rebuild canteen. That is pretty helpful. It makes all of your buildings level 3 straight away. So make sure you plant all of your buildings down and get those built up to level 3 straight away just by tapping that rebuild canteen. But everyone else, refill clips and ammo. Ammo canteens are pointless. You should never use them. Teleport to spawn. Well, you don't really need that either, unless you're very, very desperate to get back to spawn because something's got behind you. But in that case, it's better off to just restart and learn from your mistakes. You shouldn't be allowing robots to get past you. But Ubercharge and Crit Canteens are the two that you really should be using. Now, Ubercharges are good for things like heavy. If you want to stand in front of a giant heavy and just one-on-one him, it means you're going to be invincible, and it means you're not going to take damage. And it is really quite helpful. And some scouts use it just to stay immune from the damage and things like that. And they are quite helpful, but more often than not you're going to want to use crit canteens. Now, crit canteens have the same effect as if you were being crits by your medic. You get those crits, which is 3 times more damage. Your soldier, your heavy, your demo man can use that to do so much damage to the large groups of robots. And also an interesting thing is that your engineer can use them. Now if your engineer uses a crit canteen, it increases the firing speed of your sentry by, I'm not sure the exact amount, but it increases it. And it also gives you crits on your wrench as well. Now this was a strat that we used in the speed runs we've done in the past, that more often than not I would be playing NG, and I would just use a crit canteen, increase the firing speed of my sentry, and that just means it's more and more damage getting put out onto the tank, onto a giant, onto any sort of robot. I mean, it really, really does help. So crit canteens, they're the most expensive, and that is a reason for that. It's because they're the most useful. So definitely, if you need to kill giants quickly, bosses or giants later on in the waves, those are very, very useful. Well, we're just coming up to the end now, and there's just some kind of basics. I'm just going to switch to Scout for mobility. We can get around the map a bit quicker. Talking about kind of positioning, it's pretty much the same for both maps. I mean, we did talk about earlier about going through the different maps and talking about positioning, but in reality, once you know what your classes are supposed to be doing, and Asajj kind of showed his setup for engineer, there's 2 places in every single map where the robots come from, the main area and a side area. Now you need to have things like your heavy, your demo, watching the side area being healed by the medic. Sorry, the main area. Now the side area is where your soldier and your engineer with his sentry should be watching. And the scout just travels between the 2 places picking up the money. And that's really it. I mean, a very, very basic thing that people have done is built really far back. Building by the hatch, or building by this point, or by this point. No, you want to be here. So if you do get broken through, then you've got a lot of time to get back. If you get broken through here and you all somehow die and you've respawned, it's going to take a while for the robots to get all the way up to the A point to cap it. That's when you can move your stuff to this point and you can defend this point. You don't want to start defending at this point, because then you've got all of this space which is basically wasted. Learn about the different kind of spawn waves of the different robots. We've seen the top, and if you followed VHoof's instructions earlier and had their different commands installed, then you can see that status through the wave, and you can kind of think, okay, so the tank's coming next, or there's a giant coming next, etc., etc. And position yourselves accordingly. If there's a giant coming, a giant heavy with a giant medic, don't stand right here, because he's going to drop down and just kill all of you. But then, in the same way, don't stand miles away, because you're not going to be able to damage him. You need to work out a good position around here, so you can shoot him, but you can also dodge. You can hide behind here, and you can, not take damage. Now, for this map, it's pretty simple. These blue arrows show the way that the robots come, but on some maps, things like Manworks, which is most commonly played on Advanced or the Expert original missions, you need to look at where these arrows are, because they show you where the robots go. Now, if you don't know the common pathway, then you can just walk through it with one of your players. Now, this shows you that the robots are going to come up here with the bomb. They're not going to come through here with the bomb. That's what a lot of people assume, that they're going to walk past the point. No, if they've got the bomb, they're going to follow these blue arrows. And on different maps, you need to look at where those arrows are going and set yourself up and just know where they're going to go. And I suppose the last thing that we've got on our notes here is to do with the giant medics. We don't really have any people to kind of show or spawn any giant medics, but giant quick fix medics are possibly the most difficult thing that newer players have to deal with. Doesn't matter what difficulty it is, you can find them on any difficulty, and they can be frustrating to play against, because you'll do a lot of damage to them. They'll pop quick fix, and then they put all of their health back to max, as well as their heal target. You cannot damage the person, the robot, that the giant quick fix medic is attacking. If you shoot that heavy 1 billion times, he will not take any damage, because that giant quick fix medic is going to be constantly healing him. What you need to do is kill that quick fix medic, but you need to do it concentrated. You need all of your people shooting that. You need your NG wrangling a sentry. You need your demo laying stickies. You need your heavy shooting it. That's where crit canteens come in very, very useful. Once you've taken down that giant quick fix medic, the thing that it's healing is ripe and open and ready to kill, and you can take it down very, very easily. But the giant quick fix medic, you need to make sure you focus it first. But Asajj, unless there's anything else you've got to add, I don't have anything else on my list. People are welcome to ask some questions.
They pretty much covered everything. I don't have anything to add at the moment, at least. But I'm trying to think about it. So yeah, just ask questions if we have any. We're happy to answer them.
What is the very small chance to get small stadium?
It really depends. There isn't actually like a released value. So you don't know, there's no percentage, you don't know it's like 1 in 10 or anything like that. From our estimations, I mean, we're all very different. Both me and Asajj have got 4 Australians each, whereas I've played twice as many tours. I've played over 200, Asajj has played sort of 100 odd, and we've both managed to find 4 in that. So from that you can estimate that it's anything between 1 in 25 tours or... Oh no, Asajj has found 5. Wow, so he's found more than me in half the number of tours. VHoofed has found something like 9 in 450, which would give about 1 in a 50 chance. So, I don't know, it's anything between 1 in 15 to 1 in 50. It really does depend. I mean, the chances of you getting a professional kill streak are much higher, but the only way you're guaranteed an Australian is when you get that sort of elusive 4 crate drop, and that's really between sort of... It's gambling at the end of the day. We don't know exactly what it is, but it's probably about a 0.5 to 0.25% chance, something like that.
Okay.
Any more questions?
You talked about Uber using crits on medic. Which class should take the crits? Because I see many people using it on demo, and in my opinion, like during a wave, it isn't really effective on demo.
It really depends on your situation. If your soldier asks you for crits, you can go and tell him where to stick his rocket launcher. But for your demo man, you crits him at the start of the wave, he can lay his stickies down and have a nice little crit sticky trap, and then you can charge up back up to 100% and you're ready to go. Now, if there's a large group of a large group of crit heavies, like especially on this map, they come drop down about 10-15 of them at a time. That is when you quit your demo, and he can launch 1 or 2 stickies into that group, and boom, they are dead with 2 or 3 stickies in no time. That makes sense. And if you're trying to clear the waves and the big groups of robots, that's when you quit your demo. But if it's a giant coming down, especially if it's a giant quick fix medic or a giant heavy, giant soldier, doesn't matter what it is. If it's a giant, that's when you quit your heavy, because he will do insane amounts of damage to that giant. So it really depends what's coming down. If it's giants or if it's groups of robots, that's how you crit.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Not really that critical of a question, but from that last guy, you think any of you have you calculated if you've broken even with the Australian weapons in your gambling if you were to sell them?
No.
I think we all
Okay.
break even, kind of thing. Based on, we play MvM obviously by getting tickets, and in order to get tickets, we just sell the loot that we get from MvM. Now, sometimes you'll go on Baron spells and you won't get anything good, but the specialized kill streaks, you're guaranteed to get one every time you finish a tour. Now, if you get sort of the eviction notice, then you can't sell that. It's not very good. It's just basically you scrap it. But if you get something worth selling, something like a shotgun or a flamethrower or a rocket launcher specialized kill streak, you can sell that, and that's a tour, maybe 2 tours worth of tickets in filling out that specialized kill streak. So really what I do, if anyone has seen my backpack, I have a page dedicated to which kill streaks I'm going to fill out because I decided that they're worth selling. And every so often, Seal recently got a professional kill streak rocket launcher, which on the market is anything between 20 to 40 euros, which is a good amount. And that's going to set them up
What
for
is that
tickets.
in dollars, roughly?
In dollars,
Sorry.
probably like $40, $50, something like that, I guess. It really depends on the kill streaker and the shine, or the sheen, I should say. So depending on what you get, you can sell it for a decent amount, and that's a bunch of tickets. And then he'll sell that on the community market, sell that, and then use the money to get the tickets. And it's just kind of like that cycle that we do. And yeah, I guess we break even. Some of us are more lucky than others. Sarge is more lucky than me, but really it is totally gambling. And I suppose if we were to sit down and work it out, we could tell you the odd number of dollars or we've lost or gained over the years.
Okay. I didn't know it could be so perpetuating. That's good, because I really don't have a lot of money to spend. That's why I'm playing this game.
Yeah, it's worth giving it a try. But like I always say to people, don't go in
Maybe
expecting
$5 or
to.
$10 off just from my old PayPal.
Yeah, it's just don't think I'm constantly going to be able to sell it, because you might go 5-10 tours in before finding something decent. And then that may pay for your next couple of tours or your next 20 tours. It's totally gambling, but yeah, if you play it right, you should be able to self-fund.
Right. Lady Luck has not been good to me so far in life. Oh well.
Is there any other questions before we disappear?
I'm not sure.
Yeah. So the Vaccinator,
Yes.
I've seen some people use that.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a viable medic option, or is it?
Yes, it is. We didn't actually talk about that, and that's my mistake. I should have touched on that. The Vaccinator
That
is
was
good.
a vaccine.
The Vaccinator is
Sorry.
the Medigun. I'll just change to Medic and pick up the Vaccinator. So the Vaccinator is good for one main reason, in the fact that you get 4 mini Uber charges. You get resistances from it as well, so you get bullet resistance, blast resistance, or fire resistance, and that means I'm going to be resistant to damage that's being taken and also to my heal target. You may think, that's not too great, you can upgrade resistance anyway, which is true. And it heals slower. If you've got a Sarge here, it doesn't really show, but you can see how slowly this even goes, even at the max rate of buffing him, and it's really slow. But these charges mean that I can make him resistant to the different things, and each of them uses a charge. But the most important thing is one key thing is that if you use your Uber charge, whether it's Uber, crits, quick fix, vaccinated, whatever it is, if you use an Uber charge, you instantly revive someone who's dead. So if Visage is dead here and I revive him, it's going to take a while for me to build up the thing. You can see the numbers jotting up and it takes a long time. Now this is the same rate with any minigun, and that's what, when you do healing mastery, builds it up. And that took a while. Now if he does it again, and I use one of my charges, boom, he's alive straight away. Now if you're running crit spree, you don't really want to spend your crits on reviving a teammate. You want to spend that crits on doing damage, which is why the Vaccinator is good, because I've got 4 mini Uber charges, and I can just get loads of them back. That means when you're carrying around 4 charges, you can essentially revive 4 teammates. Now, I don't like to use it on this map. I like to use it on Rottenberg. Now, Rottenberg, I like to use it because when the group of us are playing, generally we have a sniper on Rottenberg, not a demo, and I can put a lot of heals onto the heavy. Now, if someone dies on my team, I can just turn around, pop a charge, revive them, and then go back to healing someone. But, it's me switching weapons too quickly. And then I can just go like that, and it takes no time at all. So, in that sense, it is really, really useful, and it's probably the one saving grace of the Vaccinator in TF2, because it's not really used elsewhere. But yeah, it can be very useful, so I'm glad you brought that up.
Alright.
Anyone else want to ask anything?
I've got a couple.
Okay.
What class would you suggest that I start playing man versus machine with, considering that I mostly play scout? Probably the heavy? Because I tried the beggar's bazooka and they told me, get out, fag, and they vote kicked me right away.
That's going to happen no matter what. I mean, you've seen,
Right.
We've said about the number of tours that we've all gone.
Why?
Because the community in general on the internet is not a nice place. There's horrible people everywhere you go, unfortunately. But I've met a lot of friends on MvM as well, and they've been like, oh, hey, you're good at the game, or you're nice. And, I've gone on to add
So
them.
far, I've only met homophobes.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of horrible people, and they'll kick you for little to no reason. But
There's
if
a
you want
lot
to
of horrible people.
yeah, unfortunately. But heavy is a good place to start with, I would feel, because it's quite simple in what you do. You can stay by the dispenser, you're going to be well healed, and there's not too much pressure on the situation, and then you can play heavy as a starting point, and then you can kind of learn the other classes. And it's really good. It's a nice, easy kind of learning curve to start in playing MvM, and there's not much you can do that's wrong as a heavy. Whereas a demo, if you don't take down the Uber medics, that could be catastrophic for the rest of your team and for the rest of the wave. If you're a scout and
as
you miss
soon as
money,
I shot a pyro with the beggar's bazooka blast,
Yeah.
there's just 3 people on my, get out, fag! They vote kicked me right away.
yeah, I mean that's the thing. There are classes, as a scout, if you miss money, the team's going to probably get annoyed with you. But whereas a heavy, there's not much you can do wrong as a heavy. Just make sure you're shooting the giants and you're shooting the robots, and you should be good to go.
Okay.
Anything else?
I wanted to ask if the cow mangling on the soldier is viable, since you mentioned the problem with the ammo and so on. Or do you get reduced damage, or?
Yeah, the cow mangler is also one of those rocket launchers that you can use, especially on. Well, if you don't want to stand close to the dispenser, you want to be somewhere else, like help the flank and stuff. The cow mangler is really useful because it has unlimited ammo, and the 20% damage debuff or whatever that is isn't really that noticeable, especially after you put 1 in 2 damage upgrade. It basically does the same damage as a rocket launcher. And the alt fire, where it charges like this massive laser shot, is also useful at times. Not as useful, but yeah, basically you are free to use whatever rocket launcher you want to use.
Yeah, we've done some interesting strats before in the past where we've had no engineer. No engineer, you need the ammo, but we've gone all laser weapons, used things like the bison and the cow mangler, and that doesn't require ammo. And yeah, in that sense, it's quite useful. And if you, like Asaj says, you can use pretty much whatever rocket launcher you want as long as you upgrade it in the right way. Do have a question in the Mumble chat, which I've been alerted to. How should you prioritize healing and Ubers on a normal meta team? Like I said earlier, with your crits, it really depends on what's approaching you. So crit your demo if there's a large group of robots, crit your heavy if it's a giant. But healing, you really need to keep everybody alive. It really depends on what's going on in that given time. If there's a giant heavy and your engineer dies, that's unfortunate, but you're going to need to kill that giant heavy if he's advanced quite far, and maybe try and keep your heavy alive in order to take down that giant. But if your teammates die, generally it's preferential to try and assist those guys and revive them first before switching your attention to healing other people. So I would kind of order it in reviving anyone who's dead unless there's imminent danger, and then keeping your demo fully buffed. He is the weaker out of the two. He does have less base HP than a heavy. Keeping your heavy healthy as well. And then things like your scout. Don't heal your scout. Never heal your scout. Unless he's dying and he's asking you, please heal me. Don't heal him, because if you heal a scout with the money buff, the buff he gets from picking up money, that means his buff is going to degenerate quicker. So you do not want to heal him when he's got his 700 HP buff. Your soldier should be just jumping around and getting the health packs. For example, to use this map as a basis, you're going to be on the floor playing around here. You've got a health pack here just in case. Dispenser there. Your soldier should be getting the med pack up there. Now, if he's really weak and there's no med pack and he says, "I've got crit heals, give me crit heals," you can just look up and heal him. That's fine. But generally, your focus should be healing your demo and your heavy. Those are the two classes that you need to heal.
How do I find servers that play this game?
Okay, so you would go to the menu. You guys can't actually see it, but if you go to the menu where the main menu, it should say something like Play Co-op or Play MvM. Click on that, and then just click on the option that you want. So there's Boot Camp or Man Up. Man Up is the one that requires tickets. Pick one of those. Pick a map. Pick a tour that you would want to complete, and then go searching for it, and you'll automatically put you into a game server with other people. So you can build up a team if you want. You can invite friends and have up to 6 people playing, or you can just join. You can solo queue, and you can just join with other people who are playing and end up playing the game straight away.
Is this a custom game?
No, it's all part of the game. It's part of. It was updated. Probably about 3 or 4 years ago now. They added it, and they've constantly been updating it every now and again with different loot, with different maps and different tours. And you can get custom maps. You can download custom maps and play them with your friends. Obviously, you won't get loot for that, but obviously it doesn't require tickets either. But yeah, this is actually part of the base game. Anything else before we finally disappear?
In the mumble chat, there's a question how viable the Demo Knight is in MvM.
I don't like Demo Knights. I mean, Asaj can probably answer much better than that.
It depends how you play it, really. Like, if you play Demo Knight in MvM, you kind of want to have a grenade launcher to go with, like, the Charge and Charge, which is the best shield in MvM because it has a lot of resistance stacked on it. There's like somewhere scenarios where you can actually like go full Demo Knight, like for example, I think it's Metro, the last wave, where there's a lot of giants. You can use like full Demo Knight because there are upgrades for your melee where once you kill someone with your melee, you get like 2 seconds of crits. If you bump that up to 2, you get like 4 seconds each kill. So you can chain those kills to get like a ridiculous amount of crits time where you can pick down a lot of stragglers like really fastly, but usually you don't really play Demo Knight unless it's like really late into the mission, like maybe the second to last wave or last wave.
Yeah, like we said at the start, you can pretty much play anything as long as you upgrade it in the right way, and you have the support from your teammates, which is why I like playing with friends, because if I fancy playing Huntsman Sniper, then they'll go, oh, okay, and we'll adjust our different classes accordingly. But yeah, I mean, anything is viable as long as you go about it the right way. But I do have to disappear now, and I think that is the end of the class as we kind of...
Can you go over the steps again? I just opened my TF2. Steps to find this custom game.
Okay, so on the main menu it should say Play Co-op mode.
Okay.
And and you click on that, and then it'll come to a screen. You select one of the missions. So if you've got no tickets, you go to boot camp,
Okay.
and then there'll be different tours that you can play, and you click on one of those, and you just follow the on-screen menu, and it will take you to the different maps that you can play, and you can choose one of them and then just start searching.
But how do I know which server to join?
You don't. It will automatically connect you to a server. You just select the map or the mission that you want to play, click Start Search, which should probably be in the bottom right hand corner, and then it will take you to that map, take you to a server, and get you going with a group of people.
Yeah, like if you play like bootcamp missions, you usually end up on community servers, but everything apart from that, you usually end up on Valve servers, which are scattered all across the world. But you can't really choose like which one you'll get on. Like sometimes, if you have like a lot of people from like the same country, for example Sweden, you usually end up on a Stockholm server, despite like maybe some people living in England or Germany or whatever. So you can't really choose, you just have to work with what you're given.
Yeah, generally it'll try and find one closer to you based on the people you're with. But yeah, thank you everyone for listening. I hope it was informative. I hope you learned some stuff and you'll be able to play some. Yeah, I'm glad. And thank you to, I know Vhoofed and Seal have had to disappear, but thank you very much to them and to Asajj. I couldn't have done it without these guys helping me along the way. Yeah, this was good fun, and thanks to TF2Stadium for giving me the opportunity to do this, and I hope it was a good part of their program, and guys should definitely check out some of the other stuff. I'm probably going to be hosting TFTV on my channel now, so to see what's going on there, see what other kind of classes are going on. So I hope you enjoyed it, and take care everyone.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, from you guys and your accents and how you're talking about the pounds, that I'm real sorry about what's going on in Europe, and particularly in France yesterday. I know my uncle, he lived in France when he had to put up with those Muslims, so what happened yesterday, he wouldn't even check in on Facebook, and I was up until 5 a.m., but the point is that I really appreciate you guys giving this knowledge out there when they're trying to suppress it.
No
Not
worries.
TF2 particular, but just knowledge in general, Muslim people.
Well, it was nice of us to have this kind of platform to have some people listening, so I'm glad you guys enjoyed it.
Has ever played with famous people on YouTube?
Sorry?
Have you ever played with a famous YouTuber like a star?
I kind of YouTube as well. I'm friends with people like Maselk and stuff, so...
So you probably do it pretty often. Oh yeah, he's the best soldier.
Yeah, I know them. I play with
I
people
learned
now
the
and
crouch tap off of him.
Oh, nice.
Not how I can't actually do it, but I know the method behind it.
That's the first step.
I have trouble revving the minigun.
If you want to get better at C-tapping, I actually bound my right click to crouch, and that made it a lot easier for me.
My motor skills are good when I'm only using one hand, but when I get two in there, that's when it gets real. But I'm good now.
Yeah, thank you very much, CJ and Asajj, for coming out here and putting together this class. I'm sure it's...
So,
what time is it out there?
Is the next class the same time every week?
I think it's just the one, I'm afraid.
Yeah, it's just, as of right now, Wolf, this is going to be a one-time event. If it goes well throughout the whole thing, we might do more. But it was planned to be an event just to kind of see how everything goes, basically.
For the first time, apart from the beginning, that was completely smooth, though. I think it couldn't have gone better.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah, definitely give
I'll
that
be
thanks
here next week.
It might not be next week, but just look out for the announcements, okay? It should be announced around TF2
It needs to be
Stadium
soon, because this is the only thing that brought me up from the news. Well, you guys just keep doing what you do.
Thank you very much. And yeah, thank you to Kresnik as well for popping in and helping us out.
The other guy actually showed up in the middle. But yeah, no problem. Like I said, you're the more important one. Don't thank me. You guys did the more important job. I just sat here muted and clicked record.
Did you mute me when I was talking about that cross chat?
Yeah, that was me. The other guy wasn't here yet. Sorry. Again, I was recording at that point, so I was trying to minimize like other chatter.
You should have seen how much I was talking to myself.
I got to disappear now, guys. I'm afraid. I think my food's getting cold. But catch you soon.
Thanks for doing the menus with me.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. I hope you enjoy MvM. Right, take care, everyone. Bye bye.
Have a good one.
See ya.
CJ.
Bye.
And thank you to all the students for hanging out and checking this out with us. There will be more classes. Every class that's being done is being streamed.